Frogman Friday.
Yeah, boy. What's up? It is that time again. Welcome to the Frogman Friday show, presented by Transcend, the best peptide and hormone therapy. They put your health first so you can live more and worry less. Go to transcendcompany.com/Birdman to begin your wellness transformation today. Today, our badass guest is Dan Corbett, aka Dirty. He served 16 years as a Navy SEAL, exiting service as a petty officer first class. He authored American Mercenary, the riveting high-risk world of an elite SEAL team operator turned hired gun, which debuts August 20th. Pre-order available right now. You can follow Dan on Facebook and Instagram, and to scoop up a copy of American Mercenary, go check out the link in my bio. Brother, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to start off with this because this is always interesting. Did you ever in your life think that you would author a book?
No. And if I did, it would have been something like fiction or so, because I'm a dreamer. I like to do weird shit. I never thought I'd be writing about anything I did. No.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I mean, the books that I'm starting to see come out today from guys like we just had a guy on who wrote a history book in the SEAL teams, Ben Milligan, and it's like they're starting to become really, really incredible. Like they're not just the story of like, one operator's perspective. They're more detailed and they're just it's really, I think this is the wave of the future to getting guys to join the service. Because it's like I've always said, like, if we're not telling these stories, we're not sharing these unique stories, then what are kids going to look at in the next generation to say, I want to aspire to be that? So I can't wait to read your book. When you first put it out there that it's and on pre-order, I'm like, dude, I'm doing it. And I'm starting to see it trickle out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I can't wait to get my copy because I know you. We served together-ish, but I don't know the story that you've penned. So I'm super excited to read it. So what I want to say is this to everybody. Dan is a Renaissance guy. And as much as I love him, I fucking hate him because he's good at everything. Like he's good at everything. He was so young going to Bud, so young, to have the mental aptitude that you had at such a young age to understand what the SEAL teams required and do a good job at it. Like you just jumped right in. You're a runner, you're an incredible shooter, you're driven, you're motivated. I think you can dance too. I think we went out to a club one night and I saw you dance.
Yeah.
Oh man. So let me ask you this, growing up for you, was the military something that was really always going to be part of your life, or were you really interested in sports, or what was your life growing up like?
Dad was in the military and we moved around a bunch, which was cool. I liked it. I wasn't the kid that was a hermit and was afraid of moving. I'm like, cool, a new place, more friends, new people. But I was never really considering the military or anything. I was in high school, and when I was 16 in high school and life was good, I wasn't one of those guys who hated high school. I had a blast in high school. So I didn't even think life went on beyond high school until someone asked me, what are you doing when you graduate? And I was like, what do you mean? Isn't this forever? Like, no, we have to do something. So my family didn't come from academia at all. And that's when a guy I knew gave me the VHS tape of the History Channel, Navy SEALs training, Vietnam, and all that stuff. And I was like, that's cool. I want to do that.
Okay, so you watched the Vietnam stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, the real Frogman. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's somewhat similar. I had that class 234, I believe it was. They
Mhm.
started playing that on history, and it was like after I'd heard about it in Reader's Digest, I was like, you know what, this seems cool. And then I saw that series, and I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. So, were you a big athlete growing up? Did you excel?
Yeah. So I was really like the guy in my small town in football. I think it's because I was the kid in seventh grade that had the beard, and I was 5'10", 175, and I'm 5'10", 170 right now. So there was this I was this huge prospect that never got any bigger, but I was still good. I was fast and all this shit. And then one year I decided to run cross country, and I fell in love with that different type of sport, that endurance sport where it's just you and you versus yourself. I mean, yeah, you're racing people, but you're the one pushing yourself. You're the one pushing the pace and staying in that like red line zone as long as you can. And each race or each day in training, you would realize that that wasn't your limit. You were just very uncomfortable, and you got to be more and more comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. So was that the time that you started to realize that you had more in the gas tank than you had ever tested before, or you knew that you had more
Yeah,
aptitude? Yeah.
yeah. I think cross country did it because I think an average football play is 7 seconds long or something like that, like super explosive, super dynamic. And then I just fell in love with the headspace you had to go to be an endurance athlete.
Interesting, man. You're going to have a lot of information. So right now, there's not a whole lot out on you on the public sector, it's going to change. And I know that in a year's time, we're going to look and be like, holy cow, it's flooded. Stating it now, like people know that you're a Navy SEAL. It's starting to get out. People know that you've written this book. What do people not know about you? What do you want people to know about you?
I think there's some well-known prominent figures that were ex SEALs, and not to say they're not genuine. Like the guys, you ask average Joe on the street, probably pick one of 3 or 4 people that they know in the public space. And those 3 or 4 people are genuinely themselves. That's how they talk. That's how they are. That's how far they run. Like that's legit. Um, but everybody's different. And, you know, I think the stigma of guys being super tough guys and hard asses all the time is a fallacy. And I just want to show like not everybody's like that, and especially not me. Um, yeah, man, I like watching Harry Potter. I like reading. It's not all like military movies and super serious books all the time. So yeah, I think more of a dreamer and more creative than a structured, regimented mind. And I think people need to know that not just myself, that a lot of guys in that community from that soft community are more creative versus regimented rank and file because they see the movies or they hear the talks and it's like, oh, structure, rank and file. Yeah, to an extent, but most guys are, dare I say, left brain and they're creative. And we look at problem sets. Hey, let's all wear hijabs. Hey, let's take a low vis vehicle. That's all creative mind, left brain stuff. So I want people to know uh, we're more than just Terminator robot guys who are super serious and work out until our bodies break.
Yeah, no doubt. One of the questions that I get asked a ton and I mean, I did 8 years, so I didn't do much time. 16 years, you learn a lot and you do a lot. What is your favorite story or moment of being in the SEAL teams?
Oof, man, I think I'm like the continuously always optimistic guy. So I had a blast at SEAL Team 5 in Iraq. I had a blast in the Philippines with SEAL Team 5. I had a great time going through Green Team. I had a great time everything I did at Dev Group. Um, to put it on one moment is it's a lot. I think the best thing I took away from it was the people. If I
Yeah.
had shitty people, none of that would have meant anything. So yeah, the people, the guys, the character of people, and it's bittersweet because when you leave the SEAL teams and you've been in since you're 18, you think everybody keeps their word, works hard, doesn't lie, and then you get out and it's like, oh yeah, I'm a businessman. Here's my card. I have all this money. I'll get you a job, and you're like, wow. And then you call them. They're like, who's this? And you're like, oh yeah, this isn't the SEAL teams.
Yeah, no doubt, man. What was that transition like for you?
I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm like the super great at transitioning guy because I went into contracting almost directly after. And to me, that's like transition light. Like you're not really transitioning. You're not really you're surrounding yourself like a very safe transition. You're surrounding yourself with vets. You kind of got the same schedule, kind of the same community atmosphere. So I did that. And I'd like to tell people, I warn them, if you're going to do that, realize that you're just delaying your transition. You're waking up with the hangover and having a Bloody Mary. Yeah, it's working, but you're just delaying you actually transitioning. And I'm not saying go out and get a 9 to 5 at a cubicle, but just know you haven't fully transitioned yet. And I
That's
mean, I didn't fully transition until 2019.
wow.
Yeah, and I got out active duty 2012 and was active reserves all the way through 2019. So I'm not the best guy to ask transition advice. I kind of was doing the contracting thing. And then when I finally slowed down and took a real job, I realized, oh, this is me actually transitioning now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I did the exact opposite. I told myself I wasn't going to get into contracting. There was a lot of appeal to it. There was money at the time. But for me, I was like, I'm going to become a civilian. And that was difficult because it was when you say go get a 9 to 5 job in a cubicle, that's death. And that is legitimate. There's guys who can handle it, but it's not me. I mean, and I know it's for sure not you. It's crazy, man. So getting into contracting, obviously, I know about contracting, but I've never done it, so I don't know a lot about the inner workings. Is it similar to the military? Is there a lot of the same type of mission sets? Is that the brotherhood the same? I mean, what's that like?
You have a lot of the same people and personalities, but it is very different. A lot of it was very reactive, very defensive. Um, and the community is there until it's not. Oh yeah, brother, welcome aboard. And then they say every 3 years or every 5 years, whatever the contract is, goes up for rebid, and people start getting more, to themselves, playing their cards a little closer because it's a business. It's no
Hmm.
longer this much money shows up in your Navy federal bank account every 2 weeks. It's like, hey, it's me and you until it's me versus you, and then it's going to be me. So there's a
Wow.
little bit of that, yeah, for sure.
Interesting, man. But this is something that you initially got out and you're like, I'm gonna go right to this direction, or is this something that fell into your lap?
I didn't have a plan, and I didn't want a contract because I'm like, oh, I don't want a contract. So I said, okay, I'll contract, and I did static security on container ships.
Ah,
And I'm like, okay, I'll do that, but I'm not going to go back to the Navy. I've seen too many guys screw this, I'm out of here, and they kind of have their tail tucked between their legs and like, hey guys. And I was like, man, this sucks. I thought I was be shooting pirates, didn't see a pirate. I didn't see anything. I'm like, you know, I know the ocean's big, but when you're standing on a bridge wing in the middle of the Red Sea or wherever the hell I was, you feel really small.
oh, for
Man, this
sure.
is this is lonely too. Like this really sucks. So I said, called up the reserve SEAL team. I'm like, hey guys, it's me. And yeah, I did the thing I said I wasn't going to do, but I'm glad I did it.
Good for you, man. That's cool. Well, one of the things that like I said, I get asked a lot, like, what did I learn in the service? What was some of my pinnacle moments? One of the biggest things is what did I learn and from who I learned? And so if you could share a story with us of like one of the best lessons that you learned while active duty.
Yeah, the best lesson I learned came after a couple of years, and um, I'll agree with you. I was a good shot, and I was very gifted. I was at SEAL Team 5, and I thought that was all that mattered. And I was kind of, I was always a nice guy. I was never like a dick, like, oh, I'm better than you. I'm not going to build the pallet,
Yeah.
for deployment. But I was like, I was kind of letting it get to my head. My sideburns would creep down a little bit further each week, and no one would say anything, or they would be like, hey, dirty, do you mind? I'm like, yeah, sure. When I got to dev group, that got put in the checklist real quick. They said, look, you're good. That's great. But everybody here is good. We don't give a shit. I was like, oh, so being a little bit more humble, showing some humility. And I think Hemingway, it's one of my favorite quotes, is there's nothing uh, superior in being better than your fellow man. There's no ability of being superior than your former self, right? So being being the best I could be on my own metrics versus like, oh, I got first place in this run. It's like, yeah, but you could have done it 2 minutes faster. And that kind of mentality was at dev group. And that's when I was like, oh, I need to grow up. I need to quit letting this shit get to my head. So
It's
yeah, that's the
fascinating.
biggest lesson that I could even take throughout the rest of my life too.
It's fascinating you say that because you're right. I mean, you get all different walks of life. I mean, you dress some. I mean, when we were in, you were dressing like a skater. I was dressing like a skater. I was a skateboarder. I break danced. You know, guys that shoot, guys that are cowboys, guys that are skaters, surfers. You get all these different types, and you can never judge a book by its cover because I've seen some of the most fit athletes fall flat on their face during buds, and then guys that came in who you couldn't even see a six pack just crush buds and just make it right to a team. You're like, all right, I got to stop looking outward and saying, you know what, that guy's not gonna make her, that guy's good, or I got to focus inward and say I got to be better. You know, so
Yep.
it's powerful stuff, man. All right, so you got this book coming out. How you feeling about it coming out? What's that like?
People ask me like, are you excited? Are you nervous? No, I'm relieved. I mean, my ignorance will show through this story. I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna sit down, beep bop boop, and then it'll be out tomorrow. And that's not how books work, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Months and months and months, and then oh, it's August. Everyone's out of the office. Editors are out. Publishers are out. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, it's November. No one's gonna be until February. I'm like, geez. So the process was so long. You submit it to the Pentagon. That adds time. And I thought I was done, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you need to go in and do your audiobook. Go and record the studio." I've been looking at this thing for over a year and a half now. It's like go in the studio, do the thing, and then 2 weeks ago I get a call. Hey, you got to go back in. There's an hour of retakes you got to do. I'm like, okay, let's go. Finish line. So I'm just relieved. I am just relieved that it's done. The print's finalized. I got my early copies in the mail the other day. So I'm just happy it's done.
Yeah.
Just if it does great, great. If it doesn't, great. I'm just happy it's done, and I hope people enjoy it.
Oh, I know they will, brother. You see any difference in writing the book versus having to read the book for audio? Which one was harder for you?
Ooh, different hardness. Um, Writing the book was was a big learning experience. How to structure it, how to become a better writer. Um, but once I got my groove, and I'm adding the dialogue, and oh, this is funny. Da, da, da. So that was really fun. Um, but I mean, it's daunting.
Hmm.
It is daunting. You're staring at a screen. You get lazy, and then my ghostwriter and my editor like, you're getting lazy. You're telling, not showing. All right, let me go get some more Copenhagen and some Red Bull. So, but I had a lot of fun doing the audiobook, even though I dreaded it, being in the
Yeah.
studio 6, 7 hours a day. It was cool because I would do voices for the other people in the book. Right.
Yeah. That's interesting. See,
Yeah.
it's interesting because I've done a few public speeches now for the last 8, 9 years, and when I'm given a direction, like I have to go this direction, this is what the corporation wants, and we want you to kind of game it a little bit, put it together. I fail miserably. Like I'm an ad lib kind of guy. I'm a storyteller. I'm not really a public speaker or motivational speaker. When it came, like I dabbled in writing a book. I wrote a history book a couple, 8, 9 years ago. And for me, I still don't have the audiobook out because one thing I'm horrible at, one, I hate my voice. I absolutely hate my voice. Just don't want to hear it. Second, and then secondly, it's just the reading and the punctuation, the enunciation, the way that I want it to come out. You get into this, I'm not a perfectionist, but now becoming a perfectionist for this. And so I watched you posting when you were going back and forth to the studio, and I'm like,
Oh
oh.
man. Yeah, but you know what? To your point, I didn't want someone else to do it because I had the option. And there's like cuss words in different languages, and I didn't want the emphasis to. I wanted the emphasis to be where I wanted it to be, where it was when this happened, not someone else's interpretation of it. And yes, talk about turning into a perfectionist, because we had a sound guy in one room, we had a Zoom guy who guy zoomed in, he's director from Brooklyn, and all right, you're hot, and just going, and he's like, "You're good. Why do you keep reading?" I'm like, "No, that wasn't good." He's like, "Okay, you're getting like, so you do turn into a perfectionist." You're like, "No, that wasn't it. Another take." And the guy's like, "We got it." I'm like, "Nope." So maybe I was there a couple hours longer than I needed to, but at least I won't look back and be like, oh, I should have done this line, again. But I promise you, I'm not going to ever listen to the audiobook
Yeah.
ever. I think everybody hates their own voice, and thankfully, when you're recording, you don't really hear it because you're sound speaking. So I didn't have to suffer too much torture.
Yeah, it is true. When you have earmuffs on and you're talking, you sound sophisticated and you sound like hard. And then all of a sudden you take them off and you're like, hello. And
Hey
that, at least.
guys, and I was shooting guns. Like what? Yeah.
Well, there's another thing I know about writing books from talking to plenty of authors is that there's a certain point where you just got to call it and you got to release it. So is there a story that didn't make it in the book that something that you want to share?
No, I think we did a good job of fleshing out what we wanted, and there was no stories that weren't in the book. There was just I just made it as concise and as fast paced as possible, and I was willing to sacrifice that little bit of extra nuanced detail for it just to be a page turner. Boom, 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 boom.
Okay. Does this book go through your whole life? Does it go all the way through the start? No.
Mm-mm. It's just a little bit of background, like where I'm from, as an athlete in high school, and quick gloss over of the SEAL teams. I'm glad people are still writing books, but I did not want to write a SEAL book. Um, I thought, that everybody's experience to themselves is definitely proprietary in theirs, but I thought it would be better for me to talk about life after the SEAL teams and show that world, um, instead of just the logs were heavy, the water was cold, it's sandy. Um, if guys are doing that, good on you. I didn't want to. I wanted to talk about post SEAL teams.
That's awesome, man. Well,
Yeah,
you've got a crazy post SEAL team story up to today, so it's going to be
yeah. I
fascinating
think
for
that's
everybody to
why I
read.
went with that instead too. Yeah,
It might even be crazier than your time in the SEAL teams, I would say. It's nuts.
possibly.
It's nuts, man. So I know you, and I know that you don't sit idle, and I know that you like doing things and you're motivated. So I know that you're getting ready to release this book publicly, and we'll put out all the information so that people can go to pre-order right now and purchase. What do you think's next for you? What are you planning on? Is there any hints of what you're gonna do?
Yeah. Right now there's a big studio that's very interested in working with me. I can't announce anything officially yet, but I'm happy with everyone who's involved in the project potentially. So there's that, and I'm also developing an app, um, which could be released before end of the year.
Ooh, you
Yeah,
want to you want to get into that, or you want to keep it as is?
yeah. It's a game, social game. You and three of your buddies writing down funny stories, saying cool shit. Yeah,
Amazing, man. Like I said, the Renaissance man, you're into everything. And how's Sentient Shooting Group going?
good. Big time low in the summertime as expected. 115 degrees outside. I don't need anybody being a heat casualty on me. Um, but it's good. I've done some LE stuff, working with Border Patrol, some SWAT teams in the country. I think I'll always have a passion for teaching the right people how to shoot, and I do love it. But I don't know how much longer I'll be able to maintain the pace I am with sentient shooting group, while other things are going to demand more of my time. So I'm going to keep at it until it makes sense not to, but I don't think I'll ever stop completely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you won't. We got another episode with Dirty Pass, so we'll post that one up too. So you want to learn more about Sentient Shooting Group, we'll push that out as well. Dude, I always end on this. This is something that's always been special. It's something that I always sat back, like I would see a lot of guys in the teams doing things, and I always just sit there and assess what they're doing, really, because I wanted to know more than just the norm of like, okay, you got to do this. Why are we doing it? And then how far are you going to take it? So I would watch guys, and I learned a lot about just life, not just the teams, but life. And one of my two times, my very dear friends passed away in the teams, one from combat and one from suicide. Is there a story that you can share with everybody of a brother that meant something super powerful, something very, very deeply to you that people don't know their story or don't know a piece of their story that you just want to share with everybody?
I think the only one that really got to me was um, Kyle Paulson.
Mm,
He and I were super close, and I was at the squadron on the East Coast, and he was supposed to come augment that deployment. And he's like, "No, can I ship my? I need to get a new passport. Can I ship it to your house?" And I'll be like 2 days after it. Yeah, sure. So mailbox, whatever UPS, I forget, and I get his passport. I'm like, go to call him. He's not picking up. We want to let him know I have his passport, and I'll pick him up the next day. And then AJ James calls me. He goes, "Yo," I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "You need to sit down." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Kyle's dead." And I said, "No, he's not. I have his passport right. I have his passport right here. What are you talking about? I'm gonna go to the airport tomorrow and pick him up." Now,
mm.
so that one hurt the most for sure.
And for those who don't know, who is Kyle to you?
So Kyle was a young, talented operator, um, good-looking guy. Me and him were in sister platoons, and we just go out and burn down Memphis or Walls, Mississippi, wherever we were on all of our trips. It was cool. We had a blast. And one night, I mean, I wasn't there. Alcohol was involved. I know there was a revolver involved, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, I remember Kyle and I, it was an interesting relationship because we were at different platoons, different teams. Somehow we met in a parking lot right by the command at the time and just hit it off. And we'd always see each other and we're like, hey, hey. And we never actually hung out, even though we kept saying we were going to. And I remember getting that word as well and just completely shocked. So he
Yeah.
was great dude, really nice guy. He was good looking, which seems to be the case with most
Like
team guys.
aggressively good looking. It was like, really, dude? Yeah, get away from me. Don't take a picture with me. I don't want to be in that picture with you. Yeah.
Uh, well, brother, it is always awesome seeing you and having you on. And I'm really excited to see what you hinted to and what's the future hold for you. If you're
Thanks, man.
listening, go check out American Mercenary. I will put the bio or the link up in my bio, but go buy a copy or 20 copies of American Mercenary. Support Dan Corbett, aka Dirty. Let's continue on his journey post-service. You the man.
Thanks, bud. You're the man. Thanks for having me again.
And we'll do it again.
All right.
Right,
Sounds good, brother.
right
Later.
on, brother. So the coolest thing about this show is being able to just sit across the computer and talk to a brother, just have a random conversation. But to see the entrepreneurial side of the house too. Just I know these guys as operators. I watched them move. These guys do incredible things. But to see them doing that same level of intensity outside the service, dirty, writing a book. I mean, this is exciting. This is one of those books that I cannot wait to get my hands on and read because his post-service life is absolutely insane. It's going to be a riveting story. The link will be up in my bio. So go check everything out. Go check out American Mercenary. Buy the book, you know, experience what Dirty has lived post-service. It's going to be insane. So appreciate you being on, brother. It's always good times. Remember, into health now. Obviously, I look amazing. You know, a big part of this is this company called Transcend. I've been working with them for over 2 years now. It's not just the medicines that I believe in, it's the people, the culture, it's how they go about conducting business and how they make the actual patient feel. And especially when you don't know anything about your hormones, you don't know anything about peptides, you can do some research. You can go right to their company, transcendcompany.com, and you can learn about how they actually structure their protocols, how they actually push a patient through. It's a really cool process. And again, the people that work there, I know a lot of them very well and very personally. They're good human beings that really care about what they're doing to help people get to their next level of health. So if you're interested in learning more about your hormones, learning about peptides, go check out transcendcompany.com/Birdman and begin your journey today. Always, as always, charity hot list. Always got to give a shout out. Sonsoftheflag.org. Go check them out. Birdseyeviewproject.org. Guardiangrange.org. Transcendfoundation.com and NavySealsFund.org. Go check out those organizations. They're great organizations doing great work. I know all of them personally. I've worked with every one of them. I currently work with all of them. These are organizations that you can get behind that are truly trying to make a difference for the people they serve. So go check them out. If you're a history buff, go check out Sons of the Flag, the last 100 years of American service. I wrote the book, so I know a little bit about it. Always been fascinated by history. And the idea behind this one was, if I could take a veteran from every living war, World War II to present day, and ask them their why of service, could I see if there was any difference or translation through the ranks? Meaning, do we all serve for the same thing in every war, or was it different? And only you will find out if you pick up a copy of the book, which goes to Sons of the Flag, the charity. So you can find that on Amazon. As always, go check out @7x.project on Instagram and follow us. We're getting ready to release the Human Performance Project as a whole, which will be apparently a mini-series now instead of a documentary, and a manual that's a performance manual for the basics on how to live your life at homeostasis. So if you haven't already, go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, like it, make sure you click that notifications button so that you get notified every Friday when the Frogman Friday show drops. This is a fun road, and it's interesting to be doing podcasting because I never thought I'd be doing this stuff. So thanks for following us. Thanks for listening to what my brothers are putting together and they're doing post-service, because that's the whole mission here, is post-service awesomeness.
Frogman.